Today we will discuss about the different contents of our syllabus in different units. There are 6 units in our syllabus of this material science and metallurgy subject. Unit 1 will be consisting of classification of materials, crystal defects, plastic deformation, solidification, and phase diagram. These are the main contents of Unit 1. In classification of materials, we will be discussing about the different kinds of engineering materials. Engineering materials means the materials which are useful to us from the point of view of engineering. So there are main 4 classes of engineering materials. First is metals and alloys. Second is polymers. Third is ceramics. And fourth is composite materials. Nowadays, the demand of composite material is increasing. Composite material is nothing but the combination of two or more than two materials. This may be metals, metal non-metal, or non-metal non-metal. The simplest example to understand the concept of composite material is RCC structure, reinforced cement concrete bar. So this in the concrete material which belong to the category of ceramic will have the reinforcement of mild steel bars. So these are the two different kinds of materials which are mixed together, and thus they will uh, constitute the composite material. The alloy is also defined as the combination of two or more than two metals. But what is the basic difference between an alloy and a composite material? In an alloy, the identity of each constituent is completely lost. For example, brass is an alloy of copper and zinc. So in an alloy of copper and zinc, the identity of copper and zinc both are completely lost. The brass will have entirely different mechanical properties from their constituent members. While in case of composite material, the identity of each constituent is maintained. Again, we will take the example of RCC. In this RCC, identity of mild steel bar and concrete are maintained. It means you can take the advantage of properties exhibited by steel as well as concrete. Steel has got very good tensile strength, while concrete has got very good compressive strength. So this is the benefit of making utilization of composite material. So wherever we do require combination of two or more than two kinds of mechanical properties, particularly the properties which are just opposite in nature. For example, tensile strength and compressive strength, or ductility and hardness. So for such areas, we can prefer to use composite material. As far as the question of polymers is concerned, polymers are also nowadays utilized in many engineering applications because the polymers are light in weight, they have got very good corrosion resistivity, plus the they are easy to manufacture. So due to all these reasons, many of the metallic parts have now been replaced by the polymers. Even now the bearings are also coming in the market which are made out of polymers. Nylon is also one of the polymers which is used as a bearing material. Ceramics are mainly used for the purpose of making refractory bricks in the foundry. In foundry, various kinds of furnaces we have to use. So the internal lining of the furnace is made out of ceramics like fire clay, calcite, magnesite, graphite, silica, alumina, etc. So most of the ceramics are either carbides or oxides. Next topic of unit 1 will be about crystal defects. Crystal is defined as something uh, something like a structure which will have a definite or regularity of the atomic arrangement. So this is a theoretical concept. Such kind of regularity of the arrangement in the crystals is rarely observed. So it will lead to the generation of introduction of certain kind of imperfections or defects. So these are known as crystal defects. So there are various kinds of crystal defects which we will see in this part of our unit 1. Next is plastic deformation. There are two kinds of deformations, elastic deformation and plastic deformation. Then next is solidification, which is related with the foundry or casting procedure. So how the solidification will be taking place from liquid state to solid state, that part we will see in this particular topic. And in order to understand the mechanical properties of the cast product, we have to refer to phase diagram. So what is this phase diagram, which is also known as equilibrium diagram? That thing also we have to see under this head. Unit number 2 will be consisting of steels and heat treatment processes. Steel is an iron carbon alloy. So this is the most important alloy which is used in the engineering field. So there are several advantages of making use of steels in the industries. So that thing we'll see. And next part is heat treatment processes. The most advantageous point of making use of steel in the industries is their mechanical properties can be altered even in the middle stage by subjecting them to suitable type of heat treatment like annealing, normalizing, hardening, etc. So these details we'll see under the head of iron carbon diagram and microstructure in relation to the different kinds of heat treatment processes. Unit 3 will be consisting of alloy steels and cast irons. So in the unit 2, only about the plain carbon steels we will be making discussion. Alloy steel means apart from carbon, if any other alloying element like silicon, chromium, tin, etc. are if intentionally added, it is being termed as alloy steel. Another term is cast iron. This is the second category of iron carbon alloys. In cast iron, the carbon content will be more than 2%, while in steels, the carbon content will be less than 2%. Stainless steel, tool steels, and HSS. HSS means high speed steel. These are the three main kinds of alloy steels we have to make study under this head, apart from cast iron. So the details we will see in the unit number 3. What are the compositions of these different alloy steels and cast irons, their classifications, and their applications. Unit number 4 will be consisting of non-ferrous alloys. Non-ferrous alloys means basically it will have little or no iron content. So aluminum, copper, tin, zinc, and their alloys have been kept in this category. So main categories of the non-ferrous alloys are bronze and bronze. The basic difference between bronze and bronze is bronze is defined as an alloy of zinc and copper, while bronze is an alloy of any other alloying element than zinc in copper. So this is the basic difference between bronze and bronze. Most of the bronze are preferred to be used as the bearing material. So what are the different properties required for selection of bearing materials, and what is the criteria of selection for the different applications, because different loading conditions will require different materials to be used as the bearing material. So that thing we'll see under this head of unit number 4. Unit number 5 will be consisting of material testing. Hardness, tensile strength, compression strength, imped strength, fatigue strength, creep strength, deep drawing ability, shear strength, bend strength. These are the different mechanical properties of the material. And the tests which are used to perform to note down these mechanical properties or to evaluate these mechanical properties have been given the name accordingly. So there are two parts in the material testing. First part belong to the mechanical testing to evaluate mechanical properties, as I have mentioned, and second part belong to non-destructive testing, which include dye penetrant test, ultrasonic test, magnaflux test, and radiography test. So these are particularly concerned with the quality test of the material, non-destructive test. Unit number 6 will be consisting of powder metallurgy. Powder metallurgy is the non-conventional route of manufacturing the engineering products. Wherever your conventional manufacturing processes like ruling, forging, casting are not applicable, then we can prefer to go for powder metallurgical technique. The best example to understand is the tungsten filament of an electric bulb. Tungsten is the refractory material. It has got very high melting point. The melting point of tungsten is 3200 degrees centigrade. So it is highly difficult to produce it by the procedure of casting in foundry. As the refractory materials are very hard and brittle in nature, so they cannot be produced by the procedure of rolling, forging, extrusion type of conventional manufacturing processes. Because for rolling, forging, we want the material must have sufficient ductility or plasticity. If the material is very hard, then you cannot think of manufacturing such kind of product by subjecting them to any kind of this mechanical processes. So the products made out of refractory metals are mostly manufactured by the powder metallurgical technique. Other applications are self-lubricated bearings. So it has got the special characteristic as its name indicate. No external lubrication is required for such kind of bearing. Automatically, the lubrication will be taking place. That's why it is known as self lubricated bearings. So how the self lubricating action will be in operation, that thing we'll understand in this head. So to manufacture the self lubricated bearings is only feasible by the powder metallurgical technique. Next is ceramides. Ceramides means it is the combination of ceramics and metals. That's why it is known as ceramides. For example, the tungsten carbide tip of the tool. This is a useful tool which will provide very keen edge to the cutting tool, which is produced by the powder metallurgical technique. Only the tip of the tool will be made out of this particular composite material, and the remaining part is known as shank. That shank is made out of mild steel, because we do not want the complete tool to be made out of this powder metallurgical product. Number one, it is highly costly, and number two, it is not desirable, because the portion from where we have to perform the cutting operation, that part must be very hard. It must have very good cutting edge. So only that much portion will be made out of this ceramic. And last example is of electrical contact materials. So here also we will make the utilization of composite material, which is manufactured by the powder metallurgical technique. In brief, I will discuss about the powder metallurgical technique. Here we have to make the constituent in the powder form, mix them together, and pour this powder mix in a die cavity. So first step in the powder metallurgical technique is to produce the powders, and in the second step, pour the mix of powder in die cavity and subject it to compaction. Press them in the die cavity with the help of either mechanical press or hydraulic press, depending upon the size and shape of the powder metallurgical product. In the third step, it is heated up to a certain temperature to give it the desired strength. This step is known as sintering. And in the last step, it is sent for the purpose of finishing operation and testing. So this was the brief discussion about our syllabus.